camera up a little bit because you're like cut off, kind of.
Cut off what?
Because you're like not centered. So.
I got it.
Okay. Oh, you're centered.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for Buzzing on Blab. This is a show that is dedicated to helping you be better in business and in life. And every week, Mary Wong, president of the Office Depot Foundation, invites a friend from her hive to share their best tips and strategies on a specific topic. Today, we're talking to Karyn Pfeffer. She is the co-founder of Firepower Seminars. And we're so excited to have her because everything that we talk about every week isn't going to work or stick unless you have the right mindset. So we're excited to talk to Karyn today. And Mary, why did you want to invite Karyn and talk about this specific topic today?
Well, Karyn, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
First, I want to, I think that mindset really kind of is what you want to make of your day. And I think you've been a great, teacher to me on really changing that perception of how do you want to approach the day. Almost everything that you look at, it's really a perception of how you want to handle a problem or an obstacle, or quite frankly, celebrate a win.
Yep.
And I think the other chance for you is to keep challenging yourself, the opportunity to keep putting those things in front of yourself so that you don't get bored, or you have those opportunities to keeping your mind expanding. Right. And I think that's what you did for us at the Women's Symposium with the whole thing of the breaking of the board. But I think just recently when we went out and we got to walk on the fire, it wasn't just about building the fire. It was the whole essence of the evening of being able to be with nature and with each other and learning about each other and the processes. Mm-hmm. But I think that mindset in itself is just such a broad topic, and how you have been able to narrow it down to some bullet pointed topics and some helpful tips, I think everybody could share it. So I want to encourage everybody that's out there, please, please, please. These conversations are only as rich as everybody to participate. So please pop in. There's an open seat. Join us. This hive is open and warm and friendly, so please join us. But Karyn, please, table's yours, and please share
Awesome.
your seats.
Thank you. Well, I tell you, the symposium, I'm still buzzing. No pun intended. Right? But it was amazing. And those of you that were there, if you recall, I talked about the mindset and how it's one of the most powerful tools that we have. And so today we're talking about discovering your 4 C's to maximize your personal power. And Kate put out a worksheet. And if you don't have one, that's okay. It's basically a worksheet for you to work along with us. And if you don't, just pull out a blank piece of paper or just listen in.
Or they can go on Facebook. If they go on Facebook, they should be part of our Women's Symposium group anyway. So if you go to facebook.com/groups/Women's Symposium, you can download this worksheet right now as we go, or like Karyn said, just pull out a piece of paper and you can get it later. But it's a fun little fill-in. So fill it in as we go.
So the first fill-in, the first C is commit. Commit. In order to get where you want to go, you have to commit to what you want. And there's this wonderful saying that I learned from Zig Ziglar, who was a mentor, an amazing man. May he rest in peace, just an amazing mentor. You are who you are and where you are by what's gone into your mind. And you can change who you are and where you're going by what goes into your mind. And it's so true. So part of the commitment is know your outcome. What is it that you really want in your life? What are the results that you're wanting? And there's 6 components to it. The first one is so simple, but yet so many of us struggle with it. And it has to be stated in the positive. I can't tell you how many times, and I know Kate and Mary, we've talked about this before. When you ask somebody, what do you want? They start with well, I don't want this, and I don't want that, and I don't, right? And so oftentimes I'll say, okay, I got that, but tell me, what do you want? Because clarity is power. So asking empowering questions. In order to ask empowering questions, you have to ask the who, the what questions and the how questions. The only time you want to ask the why question is when you're tying it in to define your purpose. Like, why do you do what you do? Why does Mary do what she does at the foundation? To empower people, to listen, learn, and care. That's their mission, right? What do? We empower and we inspire individuals to realize their full potential, right? And of course, we have the marketing genius with us, who is the video queen, who teaches people that you can really maximize your power by putting yourself out there and getting exposure through marketing. So asking empowering questions. So if most of you, it doesn't matter if you have your own business or if you are actually working for a company, no matter what it is, whether it's a personal outcome or a professional outcome, ask yourself the empowering questions. How can I get what I want to achieve? Who do I know that can help me? You had a question, Kate?
Yeah, you know, for those of us out there that might be thinking, or just around asking those questions, I find that a lot of people, it's really hard for them to tell people what they do want. And is that a mindset thing? Like, do they not believe that they can really have what they want? Because I think when we really sit down and think, if like when someone says to you, draft out your perfect career, your perfect situation, I feel like we don't allow ourselves to really do that. Like, we stop ourselves even when it's just, we're given the freedom to do it. I think we don't really believe it even from the very beginning.
Absolutely. And that's one of the 6 components to the first C, commit, and that's being congruent. Is it congruent with your beliefs and with your values? Because we've all heard the saying before, whether you think you can or can't, you're absolutely right. So we may want something, but if in the back of our minds, subconsciously, which is 98% of how we run our programming, we truly believe we can't, sabotage will kick in. If you apply these 6 things, you will get the successful outcome. Let me go to the second one. It has to be measurable. How much do you want and by when? So many people are like, well, you know, I would love to have more money. I'm like, is that your outcome? Is that your goal? You want more money? And they're like, yes. I'm like, great. Here's a $20 bill. We have reached your outcome. Let's move on to the next one. And they're like, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, it has to be specific. The universe requires specificity. You know, we have 50,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are negative. I always tease when I give presentations. CNN reminds me of constant negative news, right? So state it in the positive. Make sure you know what you want, when you want, and how much you want, and write it down. The act of writing it down also connects on a cellular level. The third one is it has to be sensory based. Now, what do I mean by that? Everything we do in life is based on our perceptual filters and our senses and what we have learned in our experiences growing up at home, at school, at work, with acquaintances, with professional people that we've met. So what is it that it would look like? And really get in touch with that. What are 3 things that you would see in your life that would let me know that you have reached your outcome? Write it down. And then it has to be, okay, what would you hear people saying? If you reached your outcome, what would you hear people saying about you? And what would you be telling yourself? Like, yeah, I did it. Whatever it is for yourself, get that sensory-based information in there. And of course, the kinesthetic part, which is the feeling part. What will it feel like? What's the one word that would describe that feeling? Whatever it is for you, excitement, freedom, exuberant, whatever it is for you, but tie in the sensory base, because the brain, the mind, cannot differentiate between what's real and what's vividly imagined. Remember the symposium I gave the example of the lemon, where nobody had a lemon in their hand, but yet I had everybody suck on their imaginary lemon and their mouth started watering. So that just proves the point there. So it has to be sensory based. The next one, it has to be maintainable and controllable by you. Now, what does that mean? And this, I love what people, when they're like, okay, the health. Health is the big component of the personal wheel of life, right? I want to be healthy. So I'll go out and get myself a trainer and I'll do this and I'll do that. But is it up to the trainer to make sure that you reach the goals and objectives? They're there to help and support you, right? I mean, both of you, I mean, okay, you work out, right? I saw the picture that Carlos put out, great pictures. So is it up to who? It's up to me. It goes back to the saying, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Same thing with a financial advisor. Nobody's going to watch your money closer than you are. Believe me, they're there to guide you, but it's up to you to get what you want. The next one is ecological. And what does that mean? It means risks. What are the risks involved? in the Empowerment Firewalk seminar that we teach, one of the steps that we teach individuals to get them ready to walk on 1,200-degree hot coals is to prepare for the worst. And are you ready for the worst? Because if you're not, then you're not walking. So what is the worst that could happen with the outcome that you're looking to achieve? My criteria is, if any women and children are going to die, I'm not doing it. But if no women and children are dying, then that's okay. I will survive. I will take that step. I will move forward. So pay attention to the risks. What are the risks involved? And also ask yourself, what will happen to me if I reach my outcome, if I get my goal? Because a lot of people have fear of success and fear of failure at the same time. A little bit of sabotage going on there. And the last step to commit is it has to be congruent, which is what you alluded to earlier, Kate, that you have to believe that you can. So many individuals have an I can't mindset. And with an I can't mindset, you'll never get anywhere. That's why we do the board breaking, so that people can have the embodied cognition, so that they can have a physical experience that ties in with the mental experience, so that it's all congruent. So that's the first C. The second C is, once you know what you want and you're committed and you know your outcome, then you have to commence. A lot of individuals suffer from getting ready to get ready syndrome. Nobody here, of course, but maybe we know of somebody that has that. We're always getting ready, and we have to be perfectionists. I always tell people, forget perfectionism. That doesn't work. Focus on progress instead of being perfect. That works much, much better. So commence. You have to take action. Take action. Create an action plan. Okay, what am I going to do first? If I'm going to be building my business, or if I'm going to be helping the foundation, or if I'm going to be working with other individuals or working with teens at risk, what are some action plans that I can take to get this moving forward? And do it in small, doable steps. I'm still amazed. I know Mother's Day, which passed, there was this little clip that went out where the kids went into the mother's closet and they saw this cape and it had the big old S for Superwoman on it, right? Well, that's what we women tend to do. We are super women because we have to do so many things. And actually, it's not because we have to. It's because we choose to, because we tend to be the caring, the nurturers, and so on. So pay attention to that. Make sure you take care of yourself first and do it in small, doable steps. I always tell people, you don't run a marathon overnight. You have to practice. You have to get ready for it. You have to prepare for it. The same thing has to do with your action plan towards your outcome. And then tie it in to your outcome. So commence. Make sure you get started on what it is that you want to do. Take action, small, doable steps. The third C, which is to me the most challenging C, and I call them challenging opportunities for growth, has to do with continuing on your plan. Does our day show up exactly like we plan it every day? Yes or no? No matter how much we plan, no matter how many planners, no matter how many boards, whether we do the tech that we learned on the last Blab, things will pop up that we aren't expecting. We will get those obstacles that come up. So we have to continue. We have to respond to the feedback. And by feedback, I mean the results. Are you getting the results that you're wanting? Are you getting positive or negative results? And if you're not, just simply adjust. The key to continuing is to be flexible. I don't know how many here on this particular Blab are from Florida. I've been here for many years, and I've been through several hurricanes. And I marvel at the palm trees, because they're the ones that always stay standing after a hurricane or after a major storm. But the oak trees, they snap because they're not flexible. The more flexible you are, the more success you're going to have in your personal and professional life. And a great tool that I love to share with people is, don't ever get angry or upset. Go curious, because somebody may be having a bad day. It has nothing to do with you. Don't take anything personal. Go curious. So how do you... Yes.
Can I ask a question? Because being flexible, I think, is a great thing to say. I think it's very hard to do. I think being flexible is, I mean, it's telling people to be flexible. You have to understand the situation, go with the flow, just understand. But for some, some people are just black and white. And it's also, I think, how do you manage when if you're in an environment where you have to manage people and you have a different kind of management system, it's also how do you handle that? How do you handle people that aren't flexible and you might be, or the other way around, or you have different situations? Or how do you get to the point of, okay, we're going to agree to disagree, and how do you go forward?
Well, we have some great articles in our blog, firepowerseminars.com. You can check them out. But there are some steps that you can take. And remember, everything happens via perceptual filters. People operate from their model of their world. So part of being curious, if you're not getting the results you want, you have to take a different approach. So part of it is recognizing and giving the evidence back to that person in a curious way, not a threatening way or one of these finger pointing ways, but I'm just curious, Mary. I noticed for the past times that we got together, you had X, Y, and Z happen. And I don't know if it's a pattern or not. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention because it's impacting the time that we have together as an example. Obviously, I'm just using this as an example. So giving it back to you in a way, because most individuals, they have patterns. They're not even aware of their patterns. I coached a woman who was in insurance, and she spoke extremely loud because she was the youngest of 7. She had no idea, and I'm going to yell a little bit here or speak a little louder, but this was her tone of voice when she talked to people. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's how you talk to most? Well, yes, of course. I need to get the attention of individuals. And I'm like, okay. So I recorded her and I gave it back to her. And she's like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I said, I'm just curious. When did you start doing this? She said, well, as a child, I'm the youngest of 7 and I'm the only girl and I had to compete with all my brothers. So imagine that was a pattern that was so subconscious in her system that she wasn't even aware that it was there. So everything in life starts with awareness, becoming aware of patterns. And I always ask the question, is it hindering or is it helping? Especially when it comes to a team, having a staff meeting and asking, because you always want to come from a place of appreciation as opposed to a place of blame, because nobody likes to get blamed for anything. And say, listen, I know you're doing the best that you can do. It's hard for me to understand the filter. So can you share with me some of your thoughts and how you go through it so I can understand that better? And I also do an exercise where I actually have people switch actual shoes so they can walk in the other person's shoes. It's an amazing phenomenon. It's because energy carries in everything that we do. So, if you study successful people, you will find that this third C, which is the continue responding to feedback and being flexible, is in every successful person's arena. I mean, my favorite, of course, is Thomas Edison. He was working and working. He did banana peels, potato skins, all sorts of different things in his effort to create the light bulb. And it was a several-step process, like 2,000 plus, right? Now, how many of us are willing to really stick to our outcome for more than 2 times or 3 times? Or most of us give up, we're like, oh, I guess it's not meant to be. No, you have to be committed. I have several sayings on my desk, and this is one here. It says, commit means staying loyal to what you said you were going to do long after the mood you set it in has left you. So how committed are you to your outcome, no matter what the obstacles are? So it was a 2,000-step process for Thomas Edison. And when he was interviewed by a reporter, the reporter asked him, so, Mr. Edison, how do you feel about having failed 2,000 times? You know what his answer was? I didn't fail. I was successful. I created the light bulb. Imagine, that's the mindset that I'm talking about. If we're not getting the success, it's not about blaming and pointing fingers. It's about saying, okay, let's stop. Let's look at it from an observation point of view, getting the personal emotion out of it, going into observation like Data from Star Trek, right? Now I'm dating myself here, but you're definitely going into observation mode where you feel nothing. You're just observing what's showing up and what isn't showing up. Are we getting closer to the results that we want, or are we getting further away? What other empowering questions can I be asking to get me there? Who can I ask to take a peek into what I'm doing because they're not connected to it day to day, because we all have our day-to-day activities. And when you're in it, it's hard to take a look at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that,
and
yeah.
I think one of the things, going back a step from one of the things that you talked about was really taking action. And I find that having that goal and knowing what you want and then being able to take so much action, and sometimes things won't work. Like I tell my girlfriends all the time, I'm like, I feel like I'll have this breakthrough. I'll be like, I get it. Like I finally figured it out. Like I've had this huge breakthrough in my business. I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to be doing every day. And then 6 months later, I'll be like, no, that was good. But this is the answer. And I finally have done it so many times that I'm like, oh, I'm never really going to be like, oh, I'm all done, figured it out.
Right.
But I know that it's like building on, but it's only because of the action that you take every day.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people just don't, like you said about the perfectionism thing, people don't want to take action on stuff. And that's a real big issue because they have the idea of what they want. They don't understand that unless they fumble throughout it. They're never going to end up there. And it's probably going to look a lot different than you think it is.
It always
when
does.
You do end up there.
It always does. And sometimes it's so much more. And how many of us, we have a goal and then we finally get an outcome, but it's via another whole different system that we haven't even thought of. And we're like, oh, thank you, universe. Thank you, spirit, for guiding me in that direction and for bringing these people into my life that weren't even on my radar. Right?
Oh, and, hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you could speak to that too, Mary, from the symposium, right?
Right. I mean, but I think the biggest thing for me over the last year has been the opportunity to take all of this stuff and to acknowledge the fact that you have to sit down and you just have to, there's nothing wrong here, people, to say, I'm really great at this. I'm not so, I don't know, I don't know if commitment all the time was the biggest thing for me. It was like, let's just get it done.
Right.
Right. So I need to get it done because I was told to get it done. So I need to get it done.
Right.
But I think the ability to actually sit down and actually reflect upon why are you doing it? And then, like what you said, let's have clarity around why we're doing it, empowering the other people to do it so that you have, and that's, again, I understand like some people might be doing this for themselves. And it's the same for me, myself. It's just that every day now I make it a ritual that at the end of the day, and people can do this for themselves however they like, but at the end of the day, I just reflect on what we did for the day. And I never used to do that. I mean, I would like, I probably would have laughed at people if they would have told me they did that. Like, right. Who does that? Right.
Right.
And I was like, but I do because it's the time that I get to just think for myself. And that's really how, when people said to me, Mary, how did you come up with Wing Women? Or how did you come up with this? Well, Buzz on the Blab was hers, but I said I'd try it. And so we have a Brady bunch on steroids, right? But I said, but at the end of the day, I said, well, if we're going to do this, let's make it worthwhile. Make it the time so that we can have strategic thought on here. So what does that mean? And that's how we came up with these things. So I think I'm hoping that for these others that are out here listening, that I understand that some of the 4 C's might be a little heavier, but how do you apply those to your life? I mean, because I've really taken a lot of what you said, Karyn, at the symposium, and I've really tried very hard to apply it to what I do every day, whether it's professional or personal.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing that I find that stops people is that other word, the fear word, right? False expectations appearing real. Again, because the mind can't differentiate between what's real and what's vividly imagined. So if you change your thoughts, you will change what shows up for you. Whatever you focus on expands. If I tell you right here and now, don't think of a pink elephant, you just did. I'm using a negative and I'm telling you what to think of, right? And don't put a fly on its nose, you just did, right? How many of us buy a car and we never see the car on the road until we actually buy it? And then as soon as we buy it, we're driving the car and we're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea so many people have the same car I do, right? Because that's what we're focused on. What you focus on expands. Pay attention to your thoughts. And I would keep a diary or a journal to pay attention, because we have primary sentences that we tell ourselves every day. Remember, psychologists have measured it. 50,000 thoughts a day on average. What are the primary statements that you're telling yourself every day? I'm not good enough. Who am I? Who do I think I can do this? Or, you know what? I can do anything I set my mind to do. I will give this my best shot. And if it doesn't work out, I will find another way to get it done. Make sure it ties in to something that you're passionate about. Because I also have people that have outcomes and goals, but they're just not passionate about it. It's like, what do you love to do? My passion is helping people. That's why I do what I do at Firepower Seminars, right? That's why we do these experiential embodied cognition exercises where you can do mental and physical so you can get it on a cellular level instead of just sitting in a classroom or watching a PowerPoint presentation without having any physical experience or skin in the game, so to speak. It ties it in. It has to work on a cellular level. And once you have a physical experience to break through a psychological barrier, it's just extremely impactful. Do something, and I know Mary's a big proponent of this. Step out of your comfort zone. Do something that is uncomfortable to you. But again, start small. If you haven't called somebody, call that person and just touch base. It may be scary. It may be a family member. It may be somebody that you have a grudge with that you've held on to for some time. Pick up the phone and say, you know what? I'm not sure why we're still not talking to each other, but let's talk again. Whatever it was, let's move on. We're bigger than this. So, and that ties into everything. People in sales, I work with salespeople all the time. They look at the telephone like this is like a brick or a cement block. They're like, oh, I can't pick up the phone. You know, it's like, what's the worst that can happen? Going back to the ecology, they say no. The more no's you get, the closer you are to a yes. I mean, I have all sorts of things around my desk. I have a that was easy button, you know. So it's like I have a bell that I ring when I get certain things that come in. It's like I make it fun for myself. I call it dialing for dollars. It's like have fun doing what you're doing, even if it's the uncomfortable things, and find ways where you are really enjoying it. You know, why make things hard on yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Focus on your strengths. Because most people are like, okay, these are my weaknesses. I'm going to go ahead and make those weaknesses better. No, because you don't enjoy doing them, right? At our company, Connie, who's the president, she's in charge of logistics. I'm in charge of the people and making sure that we're coordinating the right things. Because I love people, as if you couldn't tell, right? And so I love connecting. I love empowering. I love sharing. I love giving. And I also love receiving, which was a hard one for me for many years. And once I got that, I was like, that's what I could do. So, you know, from that, you know, the responding to results and the feedback that you're getting and being flexible is so important. And don't take anything personal. And if something happens and you know, bring it back as evidence-based information. That's all. Say, I know this happened and this happened and this happened. So it's a very powerful tool in the third, really all the season. I haven't mentioned the fourth one, but the fourth one is actually, you get a bonus with it because it's to complete, but celebrate. How many of us finish a project or a task and boom, on to the next thing, right? Stop. Celebrate. Keep a success journal or a victory log. Mm-hmm. I'm going to share, I mean, it's time for me to get another one, but this is my, you can see how thick it is. This is my success journal or my victory log that I keep. And on it, you'll see it says, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. I surround myself with all these positive statements. And in it, I keep all sorts of thank you cards are so powerful. This is the thank you card I got from a women's organization that I gave a presentation to. And it's, I don't know if you can see it, it's Santa on skates with a little girl, right? And you open it up and it says, meeting you was getting a Christmas present you really liked. Thanks again for working with us. Looking forward to seeing you again. I mean, oh my gosh. So do we have down days? Listen, everybody calls me Pollyanna, but I have my down days too. I'm human, right? And so when I have those down days, I make sure no phone calls. I'm just going to reply to emails, whatever. And I bring out my victory log, my success journal that I have here, the letters, the cards, and it can be any of all ages. It doesn't have to be all professional. These are kids that I took to the Everglades that would never have had an opportunity to go. And this is a card I got from them saying, thank you. I love the swamp buggy. I love nature. I mean, it's just adorable. And I love the airboat ride because I took them on an airboat ride, right? And so on the inside, it says, thank you so much for taking us to the Everglades. I enjoyed it so much. My favorite was a swamp buggy. And you got to love this. She put a little picture of a rattlesnake in here. So, I mean, if this doesn't light up your day, I don't know what does. But this, yes.
And you know, I was going to say another thing. And this is really somewhat of the mission, is when you have those days, that's really when you call your wing women. That's when you call that support system. Like, I know I get those phone calls, and I have my little group of people that I call when I'm just having those days of, I just need to call you. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what it is, but like, I need someone creative. I need someone to just listen to me and like tell me that I'm in my own head and get me out of it. And you have those people, and that's what's really powerful too, when you are able to celebrate with other people. You know, the other day at the very first Wing Women event, Mary like pulled me aside, and she's because Mary's Mary, so everyone's having a great time, and she's frantically like, "Is it okay? Are we good? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, first of all, breathe, calm down, and just take a step back, and like, look what you've done. Like, look what you've created. And let's take a little bit of time to just like embrace the fact that you created this amazing group of women, and everyone's having a great time. So like, just smile and enjoy it. Like, it's all good.
I think, again, I invite all of you to please, I would love to hear from some of you of how you celebrate. Yeah. But I would say to you is there's two things in that statement is that one, I think that this year too was a big eye opener for me, because I wasn't one that readily raised my hand to say I need help. And I've said this story before, but for me, it's been one where I've come back and I said, please, 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 I need some help. I need some. And I think what it's also done for me is it's also given me a different perspective of how you look at things. My eyes are not always the best eyes to see. You need to look at it from another set of eyes, or an opportunity that might be out there that I wasn't even aware that might be available. Right. The other piece is that Kate, that was a big thing for me the other day, was that you're always going, and you want it to be perfect. And I don't know that perfect is great. I mean, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Right. But for me, it's always been that I want them to walk away, and anybody that's with us, I want them to walk away, and I do want them to have a wow experience. I want them to feel like this has been a great, because your time is so valuable, and I can appreciate that. However, I do recognize and appreciate you do have to take that moment for that healing piece and that whole thing for your own soul to say, I did a good job here. We did a good job. My team did a good job. We came up with an idea. It was just really out of the pie in the sky. And look what we were able to do. And what we're going to be able to do with all of the help from everybody is to help other people to help themselves.
Absolutely.
And so
celebration is so important. And asking for help. You know, I always tell people, if you don't ask for help, the answer is still no, right? What have you got to lose by asking? So it's a little scary. Step outside. I call it, the people are in the uncomfortable zone. I said, just go to the stretch zone. Forget the uncomfortable. Stretch yourself just a little bit, because it's a little easier for your mind to wrap your head around that, to say, okay, it's like stretching your muscle, right? You don't go from lifting 20 pounds to all of a sudden lifting 100 pounds. Hey! Hi, Marley. So stretching. Good to see you.
Welcome, Marley.
Yay.
Okay.
We don't hear you.
Turn on. This is Marley Q, you guys. She's from Park Project.
Oh, awesome.
What's going on?
Oh, no.
You look fabulous.
You look. Oh, my arrow.
She's wearing her necklace. It's her computer.
Make sure your microphone is turned on.
Is your microphone on?
Type it in. Yeah, type in your question. Your hair looks great.
But this is a great example. This is how we feel.
So we're going to have her come on, and she does this great project called Park Project, and it's in Miami. And we're going to have her come on actually do Buzzing on the Blab. And she does this project where she helps out nonprofits to help themselves. And it's been recognized. She's a great executor. And this is the third year. We're going to be a sponsor for her. And you do a 5K walk run. And she helps them to be able to get money and to raise money to help themselves. But she basically does she helps them all do their own fundraising, and she does all the marketing for them. So she doesn't have to do it. So all they have to do is help them all they have to do is go out and get the funds to go forward. Right?
Yay.
Good.
Awesome. See? You couldn't have said it better yourself.
This is an angel truly. Yeah, she have wings. So, Marley, celebrating failures and successes is so important.
Absolutely. And that brings up a great question. How many love to fail? Nobody does, right? But who can learn from those experiences? So I always tell individuals, there are no failures. There are only learning experiences. And if you reframe it, anybody says, oh, I failed, I always like, let's change that word right away. What did you learn from that? How is that going to sharpen things for you to get you clear to where you want to go? Because we all learn from experiences, even painful ones, do we not? And from those experiences, we are who we are by what's gone into our mind, and we can change who we are by where we're going by what goes into our mind. So looking as failures as learning experiences is a wonderful reframe, and knowing, fail first attempt in learning, right? So it's just great. It absolutely is a wonderful curiosity and knowing that you're learning in everything that you're doing, professionally and personally. Yes.
And Karyn, one of the things that you said about not taking anything personally, one of my little books up here is The Four Agreements that everybody on the planet should read. It's like this big, and it's so important because I get phone calls every single week from friends of mine that are like torn up because of something that a client said to them or like their boss. I'm like, it's business. You can't take it personally. And I think it's really obviously easier said than done, but the more you realize.
And another big one is people that worry about what people think about them. I'm like, it's none of your business what people think about you. Let them think what they want to, because everybody's going to have their thoughts, right? You can't change people from thinking things, right? And the other thing is focus on your strengths.
Yeah,
There's another great book by Tom Rath called Strengths Finder. It's another small little book.
Oh, I read that.
Phenomenal, because I tell people focus on your strengths, on what you love doing. You'll have much more fun. And so this little book will enable you to discover your top 5 strengths. It's a great book. My first one is optimism. What a surprise, right? So the eternal optimist. So it's a wonderful tool. And it's all about tools, Mary. I mean, thank you for the symposium and all the tools. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Mary has to share, because we were talking yesterday because Mary does what she does really well is she creates teams to help support her in the areas that she doesn't excel at. That's what you need to do to be successful. So then she was doing all this research on bees and share with them what we read, because I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
I'm really, I think I'm so excited that everybody's been so excited about this whole bee theme and what we're doing. And so thank you so much. And the bees are, the more I've been, so Karyn, to you, sitting back and kind of reading about the whole journey of that has been really, at night I get home and I have like 10 books that I've been reading on them. And actually the story of the bee and the whole process is actually quite amazing. Karyn, so we were sitting there yesterday, and after you left, we were looking on the web for a title or something. And so we're getting all these, we're looking, and then we find all these facts about these bees, right? But to celebrate, bees actually do a bee dance. They actually do. There's this video. They have a video. And I swear to God, we were laughing so hard, but they actually do a bee dance. But and then we started reading all these things. And I think that Kate was more enthralled that there's actually bees have a each of them have a job, and there's, it explains about the queen. We came back to seeing the rocking out of the bees. And so it was like, when they're done, even in nature, they celebrate their wins after they have pollinated and they've gotten the honey, and they started to do that. But it brought it back home to me was that I think that some of us work so hard and we're so driven at whatever it is, that celebrating, and I think it's either celebrating successes or celebrating opportunities or whatever those are. And I think sometimes it's very hard to remember that, and making that time to do that. And I told my, I always try to make sure that for my team that I know that they always look at me like when I give them something, but it's my way. It makes me feel good to let them know, because these guys work extremely hard for long hours, and to let them know how much I appreciate what they do. And it's my way of filling their cup back up for taking that time to doing that, because it's a lot of time. But I said to Kate, I go, can you believe that a bee dances? And then they all do. I said, do you think it's a minuet, or do you think it's just one big jazz dance? So Marley, you have to take a look.
I know. I was like, I want to do that.
Well,
I want to
let's
dance.
make sure we dance to the next Win Women.
We're going to have the buzz or something. We'll have to call it something.
Yes. Yes. I don't know what it is about this
So
whole,
could we just,
I don't know.
time is going to come up, but could we just go back and review just hear like the 4 C's for everybody?
Absolutely.
So that, so the importance of, and then if they were going to go back, I'd love to know if for somebody, because I think when you're talking about that, I think the first one for me is like really important, is that if you don't have the commitment, then the others really don't matter.
So the first C is to commit, know your outcome. The saying is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right? So be sure you know where you're headed to. It has to be stated in the positive. Make sure you know what you do want as opposed to what you don't want. Clarity is power. Make sure it's measurable. What do you want? How much? And by when? It has to be sensory-based, meaning what 3 things will you see in your life that will let you know that you have achieved your goal and your outcome? What will you hear others saying to you once you have achieved it? Like, yes, you're awesome, or yes, you're the best, or you did it. I mean, you have 2 staff members, Violet and Sandra, who actually did grants the first time at it, and they both won. It was like, yes, so exciting. The next one, it has to be, this is part of the first C. It has to be maintainable, controllable by you. Make sure that you are measuring the results, because if it's meant to be, it's up to me. It has to be ecological, meaning what are the risks involved? Make sure you ask yourself, am I okay doing this? I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and like, well, I could make money, but it wouldn't be the most ethical way. I said, nope, we're not going there. We're not going there. That one. And the 6th component to the first C, which is commit, is it has to be congruent. You have to believe you can. Whether you think you can or can't, you're absolutely right. The second C is you have to commence. You have to take action. Take action. Create an action plan, even if it's on a napkin. It doesn't matter where it is. Okay, who am I going to call? Who can I ask for help? Remember, asking for help is really important. The more no's you get, the closer you're going to get to a yes. I love that. And do it in small, doable steps. And we're all superwoman, but, take time for yourself. And this is really important. I always take the morning for myself and the evening, where I shut off the phone, I do my meditation, I give thanks to my source, to God, for all that is, and to use me as a messenger for good and for God. And so that connection is what keeps me going. And tie it to your outcome. So start with commit, and you go to commence, take action, and then you're going to go to the 3rd C, which is continue, which is the most challenging one. Respond to feedback and be flexible. Be flexible. There's a great video on YouTube called Famous Failures, where you'll learn all about these famous individuals that failed miserably, but they became extremely successful. If you don't fail, then you're not going to succeed. That's just the way the formula goes. And remember, reframe it to, there are no failures, only learning experiences. Pay attention and notice, are you getting closer to your goals or further away? Learn from them and adjust and continue. Adjusting is so important. And a lot of individuals who work with themselves say, well, Karyn, how do I coach myself? I don't have, a hive. Well, first of all, you need to join the hive, number 1. And number 2 is, if you have nobody else, Step out of what you typically do and go to a place where you can see yourself from an observation standpoint. And what would you tell yourself, the one sitting there doing the things that you do on a daily basis? What could you do differently that you're not doing now to get you the results that you want? And the last C, once you've completed, is to celebrate. Celebration is so important. And oftentimes, women, we don't take the time to celebrate. Once you do something, go out and celebrate. Have a good time. It doesn't have to be anything major. I mean, it can just be as simple as, you know, calling somebody up and singing or dancing, or like we talked about, dancing and all that kind of stuff. And keep a victory log, because you will have those days and those moments. A success journal is so important to go back and say, oh, yes, I did this. Oh, yes, I did this. And it is so powerful. I can't tell you how powerful thank you cards are, even today, because we're in such a digital world. Who gets a personal card these days? When was the last time your physician or your dentist sent you a thank you card saying, thank you, we love patients like you, we look forward to your next visit? I mean, nobody does that, right? And so I'm a big believer of thank you cards, which you can, by the way, buy through the foundation. They have great cards. And so those are the 4 C's. And if you apply them, it is work. I know it sounds really simple, but everything in life, if you really want to have that success in the things that you want in your life, because it's different for everyone. What I want is not necessarily what Kate wants, and what Kate wants isn't necessarily what Mary wants. We all have our individual goals, but yet we can collaborate and innovate together to help each other out. Because the more you help others, it comes back tenfold. So that's it. Those are the 4 C's. Thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you. Yay.
I know, that was awesome.
It is so well put, and I think they're easily remembered, and I think they're easily applicable. Absolutely. And I think that everybody will post this. So, Kate, do you want to tell them what we'll do with it?
Yes, of course. So we are definitely going to be posting this, and we do these blabs weekly every Tuesday at 3 p.m. So like I said, Mary brings on a different one of her friends from her hive and have different conversations around with an expert in their industry. So this one is going to be up on the Office Depot Foundation YouTube channel, where you can see all of the past blabs that we have, because we'll be referencing all of them continuously throughout the year, because as we all know, you have to remind yourself of these things. I mean, this is stuff that, like you said, it's easy to remember, or they're easy and we should be able to apply them, but we don't. So we need to go back to them. And so we will always come back and continue to ask where you are and if you need support and help, because again, what this whole hive concept and this wing women is to be able to support each other. So when we learn things like this, we can apply them in our lives and keep moving forward to really reach our goals.
I started that you are who you are and where you are by what's gone into your mind. And you can change who you are and where you're going by what goes into your mind. Start shifting things. You know, it's like a beach ball has many different colors. Sit in a different seat so you see a different color. It doesn't always have to be that same color. And for those of you who really want to face any fear that you have, we do have a community fire walk that's coming up in August 20th. If anybody who's interested, feel free to connect with me. I'll be happy to send you the link. But I guarantee you, once you walk on 1,200-degree hot coals, you will tell yourself, if I can walk on fire, I can do anything. So thank you.
So I will give you the attribute of that, but it's not about
That's
walking
correct.
the fire.
It's a metaphor. It's not about the fire. It never is. We don't need more firewalkers on the planet.
It's about what you do internally for
That's
yourself. Correct. It's about the beauty of a fire. It's about the whole evening. It's about the coming to terms with some of the things that you want to let go of. It's a beautiful experience. But I think that, I thank you, Karyn, for saying that about expanding your mind, because I'm going to tell you that for so many years, I did not do that. For so many years, I did what was on my goal sheet. I did what was I supposed to do, so that at the end of the year, I would accomplish those things and then they'd be done. What a boring, boring person. So it was really, for me, it was boring, because for me, it did make me happy. And so what I realized was that if I could do these other things and make time, and I know a lot of people are like, well, how do you make time? Well, you have to make the time. So it's a matter of, and we'll talk about that at another time. So maybe today the 4 C's isn't really like hot for what you want to talk about today, but that's why we're putting it on the channel, because I think that it's something that you can come back to refer to. And it might be something that maybe not all 4 will apply, but something will apply. And if you need them for a staff meeting or you need to do this. So it's like what Karyn said, I have a saying on my wall that says my life begins at the end of my comfort zone. And that's been for the last 3 years how it's been. And so I kind of thrive in that environment. And a lot of people don't, but you have to be able to balance that, because if you just live like that, that's not a great life. So you have to be able to, how do you do that? And that's why I think these 4 C's are so very, very helpful. So I thank you so much, Karyn, for coming. I thank all of our buzzers for coming on.
Let me just finish by saying,
Carly, thank you for being the first person to pop on here. Next time we'll get you to get on there.
Yes, thank you.
You know, the Blab is a new format, so there's always a little bit, we have a little challenge now and then, but you know what? It's fun, and it gives us a great time to be able to get everybody in and to do this, and I think it's kind of fun. The one thing I wanted to ask too is Kate, do we know who's coming on next week?
Yes, Michelle.
Kate,
Michelle is coming in next week. Sure, Michelle. I never say her last name right. Yes, her. She is going to be talking about your personal brand and really, how to embrace it and be a superstar.
She's going to be talking about your permission to shine. She's going to talk about the ability to be able to, I think, why should you not get up there and talk and be proud of who and what you are? And really get out there, because if you don't do it, who's going to do it? And really those techniques of how do you do it with grace and style and still be able to, get your point across, but be your best promoter and be proud of that. And I hope that you all join us next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.